What's up, dudes? Welcome back to another episode of Rhomas Men's Team. Pretty simple. We are a group of guys helping each other make progress towards each other's goals. If you're new to the channel, awesome and welcome. If you want to help support the channel and join our pro team, head over to rhomasteam.com/pro, where you can contribute to us on a donation basis. We also give you access to exclusive content, mastermind groups, etc., etc. So anyway, hope you enjoy this episode, and we'll see you on the team. Mr. Ray, what's up, brother?
Life is good, Wes. How are you?
Life is also good. I'm all done with COVID as of last week, feeling good and ready to go.
Nice. I'm just passing a sign that says RMT, massage therapy. Also stands for Rhomas Men's Team.
That's right. That is right, boy. So what's the topic for today, my friend? Well, first of all, you attended Larry's conference on Friday.
Yeah.
If we could give Larry a shout out. Larry, thank you very much. I'm registered for later today. I believe Shelly registered me and everything. So how was it, bud?
Outstanding. And it was like a 3-hour session. And I so from 6 to 9, I had forgotten. And I checked my watch at 7:30. I was like, damn, Larry's thing. And so even though I only got, I thought I was only getting the last 5 minutes, but I got an hour and a half, and it was great. There was there's a bunch of people there, and it's appropriate for like what I want to talk about today. It was like a bunch of people there who want kind of like business excellence. Like that was my take. You know what I mean? Like, so to like up their personal productivity and using Larry's brain hacks, which are scientifically kind of like tested to achieve that. And but there was a lot of other human psychology involved, right? Like I thought when he was talking, or something that really came to mind for me was like the way I'm so judgmental of other people. Like there's an Asian driver, there's a woman driver, there's a black guy, there's a gay guy. But it's not just racism or sexism, because I'll also see a white guy and I'll be like, there's a white guy who's had everything handed to him his whole life, right? So it's like, it's just this kind of judgmental lens. And we've talked about it in this group before, this kind of threat assessment or threat assumption kind of mentality. And when we were split off into smaller groups within Larry's session, without Larry, just to kind of like talk in in groups of 4 rather, I realized that like I'm just a judgmental about myself, right? That judgmental kind of like mode doesn't get shut off when there's no one to judge. Like it gets turned inward, right? So that's something I have to figure out, like not being judgmental of others has to be accompanied by not being judgmental of myself in order to kind of like cleanse my mind of like this negativity. Right.
Got it. Love it. So it sounds like you would recommend the guys go to, if they have a chance, to go to Larry's second iteration of the presentation today.
Yeah. And now I thought it was next Friday that the second one is, but if it's today, that's awesome. Maybe we can get a confirmation on that and post it to the Discord. No, I think you're right. Yeah, it is. It was the Friday and the Monday. Yeah, I would strongly urge anyone to do it. And I will be there too, because like what I really want to focus on is productivity this week. You know, like I really have to, whether it's in the next hour or the next day or the next week or the next month, definitely this year, like figure out whether I can really squeeze like a good living out of the art world to provide for my family how to do that, or if I have to make some kind of pivot to a different kind of sales position, right? And so like, and I don't know if Larry, like, Larry's module isn't designed for this particular need, but like that is my unique kind of position, and I really got a kind of like tingling feeling that Larry could kind of like unlock that kind of fear, fear of rejection. I'll never get that. I can't do that. They'll say no. You know what I mean? Like whatever that kind of bundle of kind of like nervous energy that's holding me back potentially. Mm-hmm. I got the feeling that Larry might be able to unlock that through his session.
Hell yeah.
I don't know if that answered your question, but that was about 10,000 words.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, and you kind of hinted on some of the potential topic for today. So why don't you put that on the table for the guys, because I think it'll be helpful for me. It'll be helpful for all the other guys as well.
Yeah, well, Wes, just to kind of make public our conversation earlier today, is like the rising interest rates and my daughter being like putting pressure on our mortgage, and like my daughter being so good at so many things, and all the kind of like after school activities, that she should be doing, like that all costs money, right? And I'm not making enough of it, and so I want to figure out like a sprint period to figure out and try to squeeze as much money as possible out of what I'm doing. And if not, figure out the other appropriate thing to do.
Yep.
So that sprint, that sprint, and maybe the gentleman on the group can apply that to the sprint they might want to do in their relationship or in fitness or in career as well.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I think essentially it's an outstanding topic. Like it really, really is, because in a sense, it's almost counterintuitive to what we talk about a lot, which is like basically the marathon. Pick a game you want to play for the rest of your life. And that's the prerequisite decision, at least in my opinion. Okay, what game would you want to play for the rest of your life? Then start playing it. So obviously it implies this extremely long duration activity. At the same time, while you're going up, like that's going to be really hard during the uphills. That's going to be easy during the downhills, right? Yep. Yeah. So at the same time, there's another almost opposite tool that we could use. So while I do think the prerequisite question still is in play, what game did you want to play for the rest of your life? You can also use another short-term tool of saying, okay, well, what would this look like if I sprinted? So instead of a marathon, what if I did a sprint? And the amount of data that you can collect is unbelievable. So when people say, follow your passion, I think there's another element of like, follow your footsteps. Like, are you willing to do the sprint? Are you willing to do the marathon? And I'll give you an example, like a tangible example. I'm consulting right now for a startup company, and it's with this guy who had a very successful business prior, and that market kind of went away, and now he's trying to pivot and iterate from there. He's already a successful entrepreneur. However, one of the things is like he was a successful entrepreneur in a field that was already very well established. It's basically plug and play. Right? Mm-hmm. Like you just take the blueprint, what's already existing, you put in your sales team and you do it. Okay, great. And this new market is kind of like that as well, but it's relatively foreign to him. So I told him now 2 months ago, right? Like, because he had all these ideas and wants to do all the formal stuff, like business plan, blah, 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 all this stuff. But in an established market, you can take a lot of shortcuts there. Like the business plan has already been written, just borrow it from somebody else.
Right.
So I said to him, hey, like get to your first dollar. I'm telling there's so much learning in getting to your first dollar. It's like, rather than read and talk about riding the bike, let's get on the bike. You already know enough about riding the bike, right? Mm-hmm. So, and there's no amount of books you're going to be able to read to substitute actually getting your butt on the bike. Same thing with dance. So, and the way that, in my opinion, that you do that is you sprint. Okay, how, and I'm meaning this literally, how can you make the first dollar? Because if you've learned how to make $1, there's a good chance you can learn how to make $10, and then so on and so on, scale from there. So if anybody's sitting on a project right now, you don't have to own a business to understand or to use this tool. It might be with a skill at work. It might be with a credential at work. Like, for instance, I know that, Gunther wants to get his next credential for his engineering profession. It's like, okay, well, what would a sprint look like? If you signed up for that next credential and you studied for 5 hours a day or 4 hours a day for this week, how much progress could you make, and how much time could you collapse inside of a week? I'd be willing to bet, I don't know about you, Ray, but when I get credentials, when I do, like, especially in school, the teacher would give me 4 months to complete a project. Guess when I would do that project? The last 4 days.
Okay, yeah.
Exactly,
yeah.
Or the night before, right? So that's an example of collapsing the time duration to progress. So, Ray, what are your thoughts on that?
I thought you were going to say the opposite. I thought you were going to say when you're given an assignment, you complete it before the hour is up. But that's the new West, I think, right?
Yeah.
That's the new West. Yeah, I mean, a lot of things come to mind over like, and it's like the sprint, it's almost like creating a crisis kind of like mentality, right? Or like an urgency.
Yeah. I mean, this is what Mark Zuckerberg used for building Facebook. He used what he called hackathons. So he'd bring a bunch of developers in, wherever at Harvard, and they'd say, okay, we're going to make as much progress on this in 48 hours. Nobody's sleeping. And they made it a fun thing. And all of a sudden, boom, you have this widget that's built in 48 hours that normally would have taken you 3 months or whatever.
Yeah, and in a mature market, or in a established market, the blueprint is out there, right? The sprint is just a matter of doing what everybody else does, or like doing the fundamentals.
And oftentimes, like, there's so much time that can be collapsed via accelerating decisions. So because somebody might say, well, how am I going to accelerate 40 hours of work? It's like, I promise you, especially in business, there's so much of that work that's air. That's kind of dead space, because it's just waiting on the human to make the decision. So it's like, let's make the decision, and boom, we move on. Now you have to be adult enough and have enough leadership skill to say, I know I'm not going to get it right? Chances are I'm not going to get it right, but it's going to be the same odds as if I wait for 3 months. So let's just do it now. And I'd rather have the net effect be better with getting a few things wrong. But since we pushed the ball down the field, it wasn't perfect, but the ball is now down the field, and now we're on the 1 yard line, rather than trying to come up with the perfect play.
Yeah, I'm sorry that, like, I'm so deep in thought, because I'm thinking of all the different, like, specific applications, like, for my own situation. Like, I guess I'm like starting this business with the gallery owner. That is like, I think a 1 hour meeting could probably sort out a lot of the unknowns.
Exactly.
Right. And then, and maybe and then in terms of how to make that first buck, like, do we have to wait until May 1st when the exhibition opens, or can we just try to like privately sell one, which is going to be the same steps as when they're publicly announced, right? And just like do that, like, because it's not a mystery of how you sell my product. Like, you have a list of people who you suspect, like you have a list of interior designers or existing previous clients, and you reach out to them with a picture and a price.
100%.
And you do that 1,000 times.
Exactly. Like, think of it in terms of 3 S's, right? In general, you can break a business down usually to 3 S's. You have the strategy, and then you have the systems that you have to set up, and then you have the sales. Like, it's very, very simple.
Mhm.
And then so it's like, but you can collapse time with all of these. So a lot of people, especially like in thinking mode, it's like, dude, you need strategy. There's no doubt about it. But what most entrepreneurs do is they think about the strategy in 5-minute increments between when they're getting Starbucks and they're going to the next meeting, sort of a thing.
Yeah.
Versus it's like, have you actually sat down in a room by yourself or with the key stakeholders for 2 hours? Because I guarantee that you can make more progress in 2 hours in async today than 4 months of in the cracks of time thinking about strategy.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you got your first S done. Then it's like, okay, how do you set up the systems? So let's just say it has to do with social media. Okay, did you set up all your social media accounts? Right, like just getting that stuff done versus like, oh yeah, I'm kind of here. I kind of have a website. I kind of don't, like all that stuff. And then now you have 5 projects in purgatory and they're not getting done. And then people never really get to the sales part, which is the thing. That's the goal line, right? Like right there. That's when business starts, right?
Yeah.
Did you make a sale? But you do have to do the first 2, right? But my whole point is you could get the strategy done and the systems done usually in 1 day, maybe 2 days. If it's crazy, it's a week. That's it. And then you iterate. Of course, like, let's say if you have to develop a website, like you can go live, I think in 1 day with a live website and then create a better one in the future. So strategy, systems, sales. And you can use that for whether or not you're an entrepreneur or not.
I love that. I love those 3 S's.
Yeah.
Tell me how have you applied this sprint mentality in your own life?
To our business, I mean, all the time. So just know you will receive resistance from this, from all of the non-athletes. That's
from myself and from that part of my brain and the other part of my brain too.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I love that.
I'm feeling the resistance in like the pit of my stomach already.
Yep. Yeah. And this is where the Brene Brown quote comes in. She said something like she refuses to take advice or opinions from those people who are not scarred from the battle. Because everybody's going to have it.
Or your version is that, like, don't take financial advice from broke people.
And Miguel is saying this is where he's at right now with his show.
I was thinking maybe, do you mind pulling him up so that I can drive a little more safely?
Totally.
Okay. I was thinking of like who else in the group so I don't accidentally kill my wife and myself. Like who else in the group is going through this journey? I know Brent is, of course, but Miguel was the first person that came to mind.
Yeah. Hey dudes, sorry for the interruption here. Just wanted to let you know, if you want to join our pro team, go to romasteam.com/pro. You can help support the channel. You will also get access to exclusive content, masterminds, one-on-one sessions, etc. All right, back to the episode. Heck yeah, I just invited him. Hopefully he can join.
Because he's trying to start his own thing, trying to build his own audience, but he's not trying to invent the medium, right, Miguel? Like, and Wes and I were talking earlier, like, if Matt and Shane can create a successful podcast and Patreon with the absolute worst name in the history of the mediums, Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast. Like, for God's sake, what's holding us back? Yeah. What's up, Miguel?
What's good, guys? Yeah, so it's just funny that you guys are talking about this right now, just because my first show that's at a venue with a live audience, if I can get the live audience, is going to be this upcoming weekend. And it's funny because, like, it's been a sprint. Like, since I lost my job, I entered the sprint and I went full on into find a venue, get people, like, keep setting things up. I knew what the steps are, like you said, it's like the blueprint is there. I just had to put everything in place, got everything that I needed. And now it's time to actually get asses in seats and get people to show up. And to be honest, it's terrifying. I mean, it's like, I kind of, in my head, it was always, until this point, it was like, well, if I get the venue, everything else will fall into place. It'll be easy after that. All I need is the venue. And now it's like, actually, now starts the hard part. Now it's like everything is going to be more challenging from here on out because, every single person that's doing anything in comedy has a show that they need to get people out to.
Mhm.
And I've already called in favors with people to get them to come out to other shows that I was at. And I don't know that they really get, like, even some of my closest friends, I don't think that they really see the difference between the thing that I'm producing, that is my baby, and like the thing that is like, well, I'm on it and I'm performing, so I want you to see it. And I want you to come out and support so that these people know that, like, I have a pull of some sort. But like, to me now, this is the most important thing. And it's like, it's tough, I'm not
Oh,
sure how
yeah.
to do it yet,
Dude, first of all, I got to give you so much credit because you're doing exactly what you should. There's so much gold in the next 10 yards. Like, most people want to talk about the Hail Marys, like, how do I get a touchdown? It's like, dude, if you got a touchdown, you would give up all of the learning that happens for the next first down, if that makes sense. And they are very much different plays. So for instance, like the home run in your field, I'm going to imagine, would be, let's just say, getting on TV, right? Saturday Night Live or a movie or something like that. If you were to do that right now, you would have just gotten lucky. And if you lost that gig, then you would have nothing to fall. You would lack the skill, right? So it's like, okay,
Sure. What
does the next 10 yards look like? And I have 4 downs to do it. Okay, great. You're now, dude, I'm so pumped for you, bud, because this final piece right here is definitely unbelievably disproportionately hard relative to what people think it is. Like, oh, okay, cool. I got a gig. I just got to get people there. It's like, wait a second. I mean, you could talk to Larry. I've done it too. Like, getting people in a room. Now, don't be upset with yourself. Like, if you get 0 people there, it's a win because you showed up to do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right. Like, and you have to absorb that. Okay, what happens if I get 0 people? Well, then I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to do it again. Just know that it's been done before a million times, so there's no reason you can't do it. You just have to learn how to do it. But if you sat back in your room in brainstorm mode for the last 4 months, there's no chance you'd be here. It's all about action, forward progress, pounding the ball yard by yard by yard. And then, dude, once you do it, and I can tell you, Matt was just here a few weeks ago. I can tell you, like, he's selling, we were at the Irvine Improv,
Yeah.
he sold it out. But I could tell you, I was there when Matt was doing 0 people, right? Like, literally. And I could tell you that if you asked him, hey, would you want to skip any of that? He would tell you absolutely no.
Right.
Like, at minimum, it gives him the contrast of, oh, wow, look what it looks like for me to get 400 people in a room right now. And the joy that gives me, because I knew what it was like to get 0 people in the room.
Right.
So congratulations, dude. You're already winning big time.
I appreciate it. Oh, and by the way, I just had my 3rd interview for a job. I'm hopefully going to hear back from them this week if they want me to come into office to negotiate salary and like what my actual workflow would be like. But I have a good feeling about it. So I am keeping track with my actual real life as well. But I was able to use this time to sprint, to go, okay, well, now I've got all this free time. Let's not waste it. And I'm on progress. I've got 2 venues in the city I'm negotiating with to try to get it set up out there. I've got this venue in Long Island that they said, if this goes well, then we can talk about doing this as a monthly thing.
Heck yeah.
So that's a lot of pressure on every side, but like, the sprint works. The sprint does work if you have the time for it and the means and the
will and the balls.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
and Miguel, I want to tell you, like when I watched your Twitch stream last week, like, you're really good at that, man. And it's like, you need to, I think part of the secret is, like, you need to keep doing that for a handful of people so that you are just a natural at it, right? Because you have exactly you have that magic that Butterly has in terms of, like, playing the game, riffing with the comment section, curating like a mellow music. Like, you have all the right ingredients, you just don't have the audience. So, like, that doesn't suggest to me that you should quit doing it, right? Rather, it suggests the opposite. Yep. And like, it's so easy to give you that advice, hard to follow for myself. But it, like, the same applies to me. Like, the hold on. yeah, the universe, like, the universe sends us signals sometimes when we're on the right path. You know, they don't send us Saturday Night Live job interviews.
Right.
They just send us signals for when we show up.
Yeah. Well,
to keep showing up.
I appreciate what you said. I enjoy doing the Twitch, and I do think of it as like those kind of streams are just us hanging out. If anybody has free time, if they're at work and they just want to do something to distract themselves. But that's kind of to just maintain the Twitch, because really I'm doing it to get everyone to show up for Dork Court. I mean,
yeah.
Twitch is,
I'm sure Butterly's doing the same thing. It's a but like, right? Like they're all, or like Tommy Pope said, like they're all tentacles of the same octopus.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Terrible mental picture, I know, but like spokes of the same wheel.
It was only Dork Court. Like, hey guys, show up for this, but they don't really know who I am. They don't know that the idea is to cultivate the chat, the live stream, the live chat, because those are the people that make the show that I have what it is. I mean,
right, when they roast the comedians that are performing on Dork Court.
Right.
It's like the Greek
where they want to go hang out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the Greek chorus, right? So we get to all kind of like put the comedians in the guillotine or whatever.
Yeah. And I don't think, I mean, because I've watched a lot of different podcasts. I've been in a lot of different chats, and, you know, some people cultivate it well. Some people kind of ignore it or like use
or don't
it
need
as
it.
Whatever it is. I wouldn't want to try to just do Dork Court. I need it to be a thing where it's like, hey, we're all friends. We hang out. We do this on a regular basis. We know each other. We know the kind of sense of humor that we're all working within. And that kind of gives the identity to Dork Court.
Yeah.
So it's like those streams are us just hanging out. It just, you know, is a place for everybody to meet up and joke with each other. Because otherwise we'll do it, you know, we'll comment on each other's tweets and stuff like that. We'll talk in Discord, but the Twitch gives them all a place to come hang out together, tell jokes to each other. That half the time they're not even listening to me or paying attention to the video games at all. They're just kind of joking with one another. But then that sets it up.
The community, it's the sense of community, right? Yep, that is created. Exactly. That's the most, that is like, that is the real secret sauce with Matt and Shane, with all those Philly comics, with Dad Meat, especially the way that like the live chat really creates bonds between the audience members. Like that's something that, I guess like like everyone used sitting down and watching TV the way they did in the 60s, like to watch Walter Cronkite or MASH or whatever. That like there are so many different entertainment choices now that like a sense of community isn't created nationwide, right? Because there's only 3 things to watch. Like part of the more difficult task now is you have to create the audience. You have to create the sense of community from scratch. And you've got it. You've got the necessary ingredients, Miguel.
Well, thank you. Let me not pat myself on the back too much because I am like just
you suck at it. You suck at it, but you do have the right ingredients. Okay, is that better?
I'm just like siphoning the Dad Meat chat. Really is what I mean. Is like so. Don't like I haven't created this whole community. I've seen this like wonderful community created, and I've been part of it. And then I kind of went to a bunch of people. Hey, you know, when they're not doing anything and we don't have a chance to like go hang out in one place, here's another place that we could do. And then I am emulating them as much as possible. So,
yeah, but they siphoned the Matt and Shane audience, and it's not even siphoning. It is like providing sustenance because there's a hunger for more, right?
Yeah.
Like there's so like, you're not like, don't feel bad about that at all, man. Because like, I'm not, like well,
but then there's more
like you know, there's more people showing up to the buffet than Matt and Shane can or Dad Meat can like feed.
That is the difference when it comes to like getting an actual live audience, because that's people that I have to hang out with in real life to cultivate that same kind of community. It has to be people that like I spend time with. So, it now I'm coming to the realization that like I kind of got lucky to have as many people show up online to the live stream as they do. And even if it's not purely luck, it definitely was in large part luck, and maybe I got a little help on the way there that gave me a head start. Now I'm dealing with the reality of like I have to start over from pretty much from scratch, a thing that I didn't have to fully put that level of work into, and I have to do it in a much shorter period of time. And it is what it is. Like you said, if 0 people show up, then I still did everything up until that point. But now there is a big challenge in front of me where I would like, I can see what is going to happen if I can get that crowd there.
Word.
I can see what's going to be the next level of the show if I can get everyone to show up. So,
and Wes, like, can you riff on that for a second? That what he just said at the end there was like, the success because I related to that immensely. The success he enjoyed previously may have he says it's just because of luck. We know that's not true, but now it could have been beginner's luck, or like it could have been right, like the people's attention that he grabbed at that moment, right, which is different than luck, right, because he provided a quality that they wanted, but just like that he accidentally kind of connected with, and now he wants to do it with intention, like professionally, not by accident, in a much shorter time frame, which is exactly what my wife requires me to do. If I'm to be prevented from being like a fryer cook.
Got it.
Right.
Maybe I'm oversimplifying this, but as I listen to both of you riff on this topic, I actually think the way that I would look at it is pretty simple. If you are so committed to giving value to others in your unique ability, in my opinion, that takes care of everything. It removes the ego, it removes the fear, or at least dampens it enough to where it takes care of itself. So for instance, right, like, because all we're talking about, and whether or not we're talking about business, it's all a function of, can you create value for other people? So, and that scales. It starts at, can you, like Matt told me, he's like, dude, I talked to a bunch of comedians and they try to say, hey, like, how are you and
what's
Shane
the magic?
Exactly.
What's the secret? Yeah.
Yep. And he says, he's like, dude, I tell you, most comedians are, and just business people in general, are making it too complicated. What Matt's intention is, every time he steps on a podcast or every time he steps on the stage is I'm just giving these people, can I give these people a brief break from their monotonous days where it's stress-free? Hopefully they can get a couple laughs out of it. Now you think about that, how humble of a goal that is and how extraordinary the results have been. And I think if we can all come back to that, how can I try my best to give value to you guys? And realizing, and in my opinion, when you come at it from that angle, if it fails, it's kind of like, okay, I tried. I'm going to try a different way. Like, it's no different than like, if you try a joke, somebody doesn't laugh, you stay committed and you try to tell a different joke. It's no different than that. So, and then the external results outside of making people laugh, like that will come with time, getting butts in seats. Then it's just about scaling it. But I don't know if this helps you guys, but for me, it definitely helps me. Like, I am going to try my best just to give value. I've had plenty of times where no or few people showed up to our classes. And then over the last 2 years, we've now taught 3,500 some people. But I could tell you for years that wasn't true. But I could also tell you that when one person showed up, I was pumped. I laughed at it. I was like, oh, this is going to be weird because I'm at a whiteboard and there's just one human sitting right in front of me. This is a really strange dynamic. But if like your goal really is to provide that value, if you really are on the religion and on a mission, then the rest takes care of itself, in my opinion.
Hell yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you're right. But still to the point that Ray was making, and that is the point of the discussion in general. there is an obligation to put a certain amount of effort into it, and like it's a new task, it's a new challenge. It's like everything I did up until this point was like the things that I could have planned out, you know, and I executed them. And now I'm at a point where it's like, okay, well now there's actually a new challenge that I kind of didn't plan ahead for, even though it was what I was going for, you know? So it is scary. It is challenging. I am going to do my best. And I think you're right in the sense that, especially with what I'm doing, like I'm creating value for the comics that are going to be on the show, and likely they're going to bring people to help fill the seats. So I just need to kind of provide the materials for them to give out to their friends to be like, here it is, to show up. But you know, there is still a whole new set of challenges directly in front of me.
Oh, definitely. And that's what I'm saying. Like if the nucleus of what you're trying to do is constantly provide value, then the work of all the logistics becomes easier. And this is not something that just like you sit down and you think about. And by the way, I'm not giving you advice. Like I'm talking to myself simultaneously. The brain is going to constantly toggle between, oh, here's my mission, and oh, shoot, this is really hard and uncomfortable. So versus like, oh, I've got to get this done. It's like, no, but make sure you remind your brain, you're getting this done to serve this higher purpose, because it is so easy to get distracted by like the current task list and whether or not your biology wants to follow through on that task list or go hide back in your bedroom. So if that North Star is not constant, oh, this is why I'm doing it, this is why I'm doing it. This is why Michael Jordan's quote of like, I go out there on the court every day because there's at least one kid in the stands that has never seen me play and will never see me play in person, most likely because he can't afford it, sort of a thing. So my mission is to serve that one kid. And look what Michael Jordan did. He served the world throughout history, sort of a deal. So I think in a weird way, the more simple and the more pure we keep the value proposition and our commitment to doing that, the rest kind of takes care of itself. Yeah, and Larry's saying expectations are what we have to be careful of, you know. So that makes complete sense. Yeah. Ray, any more comments on this, brother? And Miguel?
No, I like the who do I create value for? Because Miguel says he creates value for the other comics. That's like it's an opportunity for them to practice their craft, to reach new eyeballs and ears. And but Miguel, you also create value for the audience, right? By orchestrating the whole, by producing, by executing the whole show, right? And so and then you create value for yourself. So I was thinking like, so I made just a little chart, right? Like I create value for, and for me, it's the artists. And I was thinking of when you said the other comedians, right? I create value for the audience who get to look at it. I create value for the art collectors who like to buy it. And then I create value for whatever partners I have in the business, stakeholders. And I create value for myself.
Yeah.
And I think Larry talked about like, and like I said before, like, don't forget to be kind to yourself. And I mean, I have trouble with the word be kind to yourself. Like in our manly, you know, caveman group here, be kind to yourself is like that language doesn't always fit what I'm trying to say, but like, treat yourself you would your brother. Yeah, right. So in other words, like you're not just creating value for the other, like you're creating value like a machine gun, not just like not just to the other comics. And so am I.
And also, this is not a one-time decision. Honestly, like the amount of times that I struggle with this topic, it's in the dozens per day, where I have to actively remind myself, like, oh, don't listen to that person because that person's not in the value bubble, right? They have nothing to do with that. Like Aunt Cindy commenting on my financial practice, right? Like, but my brain can't tell the difference.
Yeah.
Right. My initial monkey mind or my reptilian brain wants to say, oh, Aunt Cindy's probably right. And then I have to remind myself, it's like, dude, what are you talking about? So I actually tested this, right? To kind of, for my own well-being. every Thanksgiving I go home and I have this crazy skeptical cousin, like who literally, she says that like if basically if I took her advice throughout my entire childhood and life, I don't know, I'd probably work at Starbucks still, sort of a thing, right? So I tested this just to prove a point. I gave her a pitch on an idea, and then I said, "What do you think about that?" She's like, "Definitely wouldn't work." And then I was like, "Oh, this is fascinating," because that idea has already been put into practice for the last 7 years and has literally made millions of dollars. Literally. I'm not saying that to sound like a douchebag. I'm saying that literally. So that's a perfect example of like where a naysayer who's not on the field, right, has nothing to do with the actual, like the value proposition. So the only reason I'm saying that is I go through this multiple times, dozens of times a day, where I have to constantly remind myself, okay, is this person's comments relevant, or my thoughts, my monkey mind, is that comment relevant? No, get back to the value, get back to the value, get back to the value.
Yeah. So. And I think that like, and again, to try and weave in the Larry's wisdom, whereas like, you know, with the eureka moment I had in his session, like, don't just be judgmental against others. Remember, you're being judgmental on yourself as well. Mm-hmm. Right. This men's group has trained me out of like watching the news constantly and being bombarded with negative information. Right. This men's group has taught me the toxicity of social media and the way it just creates comparison and jealousy. Right. And so and the next step is like getting at that naysayer in my mind. Right. Because like it's the same. It's kind of the same lizard brain that gets activated, whether it's the news, comments on social media, Aunt Karen giving me like, you know, contemporary art advice or whatever. Larry, what's up, man?
Hey, great to hear you all. And now to see you as well. I just did my first live virtual event, and I have 27 years of being in business for myself, over 40 years of research in the science of the brain, psychology. And I was sweating bullets. I was like a mess. And, you know, you guys really nailed it when I recognized that, hey, if you're doing this because this is what you love, you're doing this because you know that others are going through the same thing you're going through. And if you can get out of your own way and get involved in what they need and what they're looking for, the rest will take care of itself. And you guys are absolutely right. You know, I mean, I really got myself in the weeds, and it's not about how much you know or all the processes you have. It's about, and when, you know, and I liked, Ray, when you talked about the alpha can't really talk too much about being kind to themselves. You know, it's kind of like a little sissy or whatever, but by golly, if we're not, who's going to be? You know, we're going to keep searching elsewhere to try to find somebody to acknowledge us. And like Wes said, you know, he's going to take an idea that he's proven to create millions and offer it to someone who then says that'll never work. Was a perfect example of how susceptible the human mind is to suggestion. And it doesn't, the reptilian brain doesn't know the difference between nonsense and wisdom. We have to discern that. And it has to be discerned. It has to be figured out through what is it we're attempting to accomplish. And what we're attempting in my work, I'm attempting to accomplish for people to fall in love with themselves so that they can get on with their life, get into the sprint, be able to get things done instead of contemplating their way or masturbating their way through life. And, you know, it might feel good for a while, but then, you know, you need another fix, right? So I really want to thank all of you for sharing what you're going through, because it does ground us. It does make us realize of what's really important. And what's really important, and I just want to share this one thing, is watch out for those demonic expectations. because the expectations, unless they're fully in alignment with the value you're driving and giving to people, which is a self-expectation that I'm going to be the best that I can be with what I know now in this moment now. I'll learn the rest. Hell, we dumped some money into this first virtual event. We had a lot of behind the scenes people doing things. We got Ray show up an hour and a half later, you know, and we had one person who was upside down. They didn't even know how to use their phone. And I'm trying not. All these people are on screen, and we did all of this so they could come to my 2-day signature event and absolutely change their life. You talk about going into hyperspace. I mean, the speed of light, literally, you will transform. So all they had to do at the end of the program is push the button. The button was never turned on. So there was no way after all of that they could go and sit down and pay for an upcoming event. So much for expectation. But it's kind of what, you know, Ray said, all of the journey we're on is to get us even in better position for that value that we offer. And it's the doggone journey where we got to be curious and fascinated and this is the key, not let what happens in the journey tell us whether we're worthy or not, tell us whether we're on the right track or not. Hell, I'd still be a carpenter. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it certainly would have been a lot easier than getting into all this mental stuff and trying to sell an intangible, for crying out loud. But that was always the fallback. Well, I'll go pound nails, you know, and that became a comment, didn't it? Go pound nails. But again, as all of you are sharing, you take away this, it's hard, take away this, it's tough. You know, why do you want it to be hard and tough? Why don't you have the time of your friggin' life? I mean, it's a choice on how you want to go through the process of learning. But boy, you don't learn a damn thing sitting around wondering if. Learning takes place through experience. And the only way to get it is, like Wes is saying, is friggin' do it. And you get one that shows up, they're the luckiest person on the planet, because you're going to transform their life with your artwork, with your comedy, you know, with your financial wisdom, with helping them put themselves in the right mental state of mind so they can win. It doesn't matter where you're coming from. The end result is the same for all of us, to improve the condition of the people that we serve. And that's humanity. And sometimes we're not going to like the humanity that's there. I didn't like her being upside down. How dare her? My God, can't she even figure out how to use a phone? You know, and that's the judgmental side again that I was talking about. So you nailed it, Ray, when you said, you know, it's not so much that I'm judgmental about others. It's how damn judgmental I am about myself.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, I think that's where all of us have to fall in love with ourselves and get on with our lives and start having some fun, even though we're in dire straits. I couldn't make mortgage payments. You know, I had to look at foreclosure. I had, you know, I mean, it's none of us are going to escape that. Miguel's not going to start out getting a phone call to be on Saturday Night Live, but if he does, he's going to be ready for it. Instead of scared to death, he's going to say, well, about time. And if he doesn't say that, he will be scared to death. His one opportunity, he will blow it because he's so self-conscious. And that's the thing that I talked about when I said, be your own best advice. Be the one that you seek when you are in the dumps. And then when you do look outside of yourself, like Wes said, go to those that have already won. Go to those that know how to do it. Don't, you know, what's that old adage? You take a little kid and somebody asks him, what do you want to do with your life? I want to be a professional basketball player. And they go, do you know what the odds of that are happening? You might as well wish you were a plant. Or, I mean, that's about the chances you have. But what do they say? You go to a pro ball player and he says, okay, I want you bouncing the ball every single day. I don't want you going anywhere without the ball. I want you to sleep with the ball. I want you to be the ball. And that's the challenge we face. Everybody's so quick to give us advice, like I'm giving now, for crying out loud. But once we, and here is, a brain hack. A brain hack is taking hundreds and hundreds of years of brain science, psychology, research, and condensing it into a transformational moment where people don't have to take the long marathon. They can take that quantum leap from here to there instantaneously and all be ready and now work the process, whatever it may be, and fall in love with the process as well. Otherwise, we're going to hear words like, oh, it's going to be so hard. Oh, I've got to fill all those seats. Oh, I think I'll take a nap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe I owe myself a drink right now.
Yeah.
Fill the fucking seats. Figure it out. And the next thing you know, you're doing what you love, and there's people there that are loving what you do.
Yeah. No, Larry, I think it's so well articulated, and it reminds me the way that I think about it. There's essentially two things of the people that I look up to, let's say in business or whatever. I've noticed two things. They were committed to giving value to the end user, and they just kept going. And that's it, right? Like their intentions were to provide value. So they were doing the thing that they're doing for free at one point in the beginning. And now they're providing value to many more people. But the reason they're able to do it is they just kept going. Like literally that's it. The two variables, give value and keep going. That's it.
Amen. Amen. And that I think is where people get stuck, is that didn't feel good. Mm-hmm. And that's where we get into the, we need our blanket and I don't say that facetiously. I say that we're looking for comfort. And that's when you've really got to be able to say, hey, give yourself some fucking credit, man. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to always be perfect. It's progress, not perfection. And the perfection will come. You may never live long enough for it to occur in your life. But when you're shooting for it, you might, you'll generally settle for excellence. And that beats mediocrity to death. And mediocrity is settling for less. Now, those of you that have to make a living in the meantime, you be the best human being making that living that you possibly can. You want them to go, please don't leave us. I know you've always wanted to do this with your life, but don't leave us. Because I've seen too many people just show up for the paycheck. Mm-hmm. And that's not good to practice our own credibility and our own belief in self. We need to bring our best version to whatever we do. Whether we like what we do or not is immaterial. Bring our best version to it. Then we can sleep at night with a little smile on our face and say, you rocked it today. Because it's not about how much you made, it's about the difference you made.
See, Miguel, you poked the bear and you got the bear. You know what I mean?
Well, look, for everyone who's on the group on the pod today, go to Larry Olson Live, and you'll get a link, or you'll get sign up for the alert for the module this evening at 6 p.m. Eastern time, 3 p.m. Pacific time, and then check your email for when you get the alert. It's not enough to just get the alert, and and then show up on time. That
you can have your video,
goals, squad
video
goals.
On. Wow, that would be
upright.
That would be,
upright, like not upside down.
We love you, Larry, and I don't care whether you're in bed or taking a dump. I don't care. Have some balls and just have your video on, because it makes such a difference for everybody else to be able to.
Oh, absolutely. It creates value. Like it absolutely creates value. And so, David Goggins has a little video that says, like, take your hand, grab your ball. If you have balls, grab your balls. You know, that means if you have balls, that means you can hit that means you're a human. That means you have feet. That means you're on the floor. That means you can do some push-ups. And so I don't know why that came to mind with all the talk of like the dumps and the.
Wes is asking me to get real when I'm on this, so I'm.
No, that was as real as we want you to get. Just, maybe a little bit of brake pedal, but no.
Okay.
That was great.
He's just
no. I for one am going to be on that call tonight, listening and learning. I would encourage everyone else to do so as well. Thank you, Wes.
There's no cost at all.
Thank you, Larry.
So, well, in the spirit of the topic of this, if we could go real quick, round robin, what is everyone's sprint for this week? So I can tell you my sprint will be for Ray and I to come to a conclusion on some of the Rhomas stuff and get more content put out there of the videos that we have. So that's the focus sprint that I will have. Ray, what's your sprint, bro?
I'm going to have a 1-hour meeting with my gallery partner just to decide once and for all if I'm going to get what I want from this partnership, or if I have to get my own space and just hang my own sign.
Got it. Miguel?
I'm going to make some more videos, door court highlight videos, try to find the funniest clips that I can and make teasers, promote as much as possible. Start using Facebook again, even though I have been afraid to. I literally was just thinking while Larry was talking that that's probably one of the big steps that I've been avoiding. And then also I want to make a door court Instagram page separate from my personal page. And so I'm going to try to get all of those done this week.
Absolutely. All right, buddy. Larry, how about you, bud?
Yeah, doing 4 videos a day on different challenges that we're all facing till the end of the week. And then some people are flying in to do a bunch of videos. And so going to be, and I don't like to do videos, by the way. I don't like to stare at the camera and try to be in the zone and be animated, but I'm doing it. And it's getting easier and easier. So it's amazing if we just keep doing it, the fear starts to go away.
Love it.
Yeah,
right,
and
dude.
Wes, I think that like it's safe to say that Larry gets paid thousands to give his psychology and wisdom and business expertise, and you're getting it a 3-hour session for free tonight if you log on at 6 p.m. Eastern time.
Hell yeah!
I'm also going to hop on that.
Do it, bro.
Ray, if you need an extra job, I love the promotion.
Be careful what you wish for. All right, gentlemen.
Well, you have your people talk to my people.
Hell yes. Love you guys. Love my gentlemen on this call. Bye-bye.